we all ready to get started, we think? Yes? Great. Well, again, good morning. My name is Lisa. I am the board chair for Neighbor to Neighbor, and thank you all for being here with us this morning, and particularly for this special session that we have put together for you. I have the honor of introducing our moderator today, who is a friend and has done a lot of work for Neighbor to Neighbor, and I will introduce and read his bio to you now. We've got a few more people. Come on in. Maybe I'll hold just a minute so we get everybody settled. Okay. And I see we have another board member here with us, Teresa Burse. Teresa is on our board and is the secretary of Neighbor to Neighbor. Thank you, Teresa. And I saw some fellow Metro Beautification Commissioners here too. Pam, there she is. She was over here. Moved tables. Okay, we'll start this again here. Again, good morning. Thank you for being with us at our breakout session. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Dr. E. Kelly Sanford. Dr. Sanford, pardon me, is originally from Oxford, North Carolina, and graduated from the Sociology Department of North Carolina Central University. He completed his MA in Sociology and has a PhD in Africana Studies from Howard University. He is currently an associate professor in the Sociology Department at TSU. Dr. Sanford, you're up, and I'd like to pass the microphone to you so you can introduce our very special guest speaker today, Mr. Gregory Atkins. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 second. You know what they say about Murphy's Law. I had my introductory thing right here the entire morning, and as soon as I touched it, do this. Yeah. I shared it if it doesn't come up. Thank you so much. Well, good morning. I think we all, if we can, just take a moment of silence in recognition of what happened this week. Just one moment. Thank you very much. It's a huge problem that we have in the country. But I'm very delighted in this opportunity to have to introduce Mr. Greg Atkins. He is the current chairman of the Nashville Metropolitan Planning Commission and also the president and CEO of the Beverage Association of Tennessee, a statewide 501c6 professional trade association representing local and regional soda, water, and juice markers. Actually, in my informal conversation with him a few minutes ago, he actually was sharing that with someone else. Prior to this role, he was the president and CEO of Tennessee Hospitality and Tourism Association, who represented Tennessee restaurants, lodging, and tourism entities. And without any further ado, you probably might tell us some more about himself. We'll let Mr. Atkins, Commissioner of Planning, come forward. And thank you. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right. Oh, here we go. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
All right. I see several councilmen. It's good to see you all. Thank you for coming. Before I start, we do a lot of work with the council, and I truly want to say thank you and the staff. And you guys are always working together, so thank you very much. And I know coming to the Planning Commission meeting on top of the council meetings, probably not what you want to do. I also see a lot of neighbors that I know. Twana, good to see you. It's good to see everybody that is a regular down at the Planning Commission, which I think is an important process. So today, we're just going to talk about a few things, and I'll go kind of quick, and then we'll open it up for questions, and then we can kind of have an open discussion, because it's an honor to be here. I think it's important for the Planning Commission and the neighbors to work together, including the council. And so part of that is going to conferences, having community meetings, going to our workshops, and then the official Planning Commission meeting. So I'm going to go over just a little bit about, if you've never been to a planning commission meeting, you might wonder how or what is the planning commission. So we'll go over a little bit about who we are, and then I want to talk about some of the accomplishments that we have done in the last year and several in the last decade. And I think that will be important. I also want to talk about our staffing levels and a little bit about our staff, and then some really important transportation planning and some upcoming projects that I think you guys would like to hear about. So without further ado, so Logan is, just by the way, Logan is here from the planning staff, and you guys see him all the time. Logan is one of our top planners. He's been in the department for about 4 years. We appreciate our entire team. And so Logan said that I could say this, that today, I'm actually making an announcement today that we're putting a moratorium on all development. You guys know what today is, right? It's April Fool's Day. Oh, maybe too early. Maybe too early. Okay, all right, too early for that. All right. Well, anyway, bad joke, but I do want to say this, though, and I think that this is an important picture of how much development has gone on, at least in the downtown core, in just a short couple of decades. And so I thought it was kind of interesting to see this side by side. Logan and I thought that was a really cool picture. So a little bit about our planning department, who we are. We're a commission made up by the charter. We're independent from the mayor's office, although the mayor and the council have a direct process, which is the mayor appoints the commissioners and then the council approves them at the council level. And so we are an independent commission, separate from the mayor's office. A lot of the things that we do are design guidance, we review zoning requests, subdivisions, draft public policy on growth and development. One thing I'm extremely proud of is the community engagement. I think that we are one of the departments in the United States that has some of the best community engagement and neighborhood involvement in the United States. Also, we have basically 4 kind of divisions within the department. We have the current planning, which includes land development, design studio. We have the housing division now. We also have our long-range planning operation, which includes advanced planning, research, community plans, project management. And we also, a very important part is our GIS and mapping under the operations and finance, HR. So y'all know a lot about Nashville Next. We can get into more discussion on Nashville Next, but it's basically the policy that we've come up with community for Nashville. And so if a zoning request comes in and doesn't meet the policy of Nashville Next, you see us generally disapprove it. A lot of debate around sometimes what the policy is, does it meet the policy, and a lot of debate from that. And so I'll talk a little bit more about Nashville Next in a little bit. But some of the accomplishments. So one of the things that you hear a lot of, obviously, is about affordable housing. Homelessness, you hear this all the time. You know, prices are going up. So one of the things that we did was we established the first ever division in planning with housing. And Angie, if you haven't met her yet, you should. And if you're concerned about housing, I'd say you should set up a meeting, have coffee with her, talk to her. We're doing a lot of great planning for affordable housing, and I'm going to go through some of that. One thing that we've done is we've created this version of a housing dashboard. So it's the state of affordable housing in Metro. And I'm not exactly sure. It's on the planning website. And let me see here. We can send that out to everybody. But it is a really great tool that you guys should check out. We also, very exciting news, we launched one of the first mixed income pilot projects that uses the American Rescue Plan Act funding from it, and this is going to create several units that we're excited about. And so here's kind of housing by the numbers. We feel like we're making some really great strides having the housing division and creating that division within the Planning Commission. The other thing too is one of the things I'm extremely excited about and been a huge part of for several years now is East Bank. And so what we did was we released a vision program for this. Imagine East Bank. Many of you were part of those discussions. We held 50 public meetings, 1,200 attendees, and that was over a 21-month period. And I would tell you, if anybody says that we are not planning or we don't care about the community, I would say that's absolutely not correct, and that we do a lot of work within the communities and with the council members. That plan actually passed unanimously. It was an important vision document, and that area is probably going to change more than anywhere else in Nashville over the next decade. A little funny thing about that. So my daughter last summer goes to, I'm going to save this joke for the very end, just because it's so fun. I have to save it to the end, and I will. So remind me to tell you, say the joke at the very end. Council lady, you remind me. Okay, you can remind me. We also have our, like I said, the long-range division plan, which includes the policy of Nashville Next. And so one of the things that we talk about a lot, and we just had a workshop on it, is do we need to do an entirely new Nashville Next plan? We talked amongst the staff, amongst the team, with our neighbors. We've had 10 amendments. We also worked with the council members on which areas needed an update in the policy. And we feel like right now that the community plans in Nashville Next, all the updates have sort of kept pace, and I think that we feel like we're moving in a really good direction. Some of the civic organizations that we've worked with include public schools, the American Planning Association, Scenic Tennessee, Urban Land Institute, Neighbor and Neighbor, you guys, Civic Design Center. We work with all of those folks. We also have the project management section, which is headed up by Katie, which does a lot of the, when we talk about planning, that particular project won't keep up with infrastructure. Well, this division will help make sure that the infrastructure is there and help us, guide us that if it's appropriate or not for that area. The design studio, we've done some overall height modifications, and a lot of times, a lot of good debate on height modifications. Generally, when we allow height modification, we want to see a better plan, more green space, more connectivity, more public transit focus, more biking, right, Logan? And so I think that that's important on height modifications, that we just don't do it carte blanche, right? It's like a very planned out type thing. STRs, I know that's one of y'all's favorite subjects. We've done a lot in this area, and the design studio works with us on that too. Also, we've had revisions in our parking policy, especially in downtown core, reducing the amount of parking for projects that will hence drive more walking and biking and public transit. So the Land Development Office, incredibly busy. Over 1,500 applications, 274 council bills, and this is why the council stays there so long, right, council? So this is, I just want you to know that, so Logan pointed out 97 SP plans, which an SP plan is very detailed work. I think that this is an impressive slide of how much work the department does. And then the development services counter, which is a very important part of what we do as well. And these are just impressive numbers of how much work the team does on a daily basis throughout the year. Mapping and research, as you know, we're using the mapping division in the redistricting process right now. It's a very critical function. We show more maps at the planning department than anywhere else in state government, metro government. And I think it's really important to note that we also work with other departments NDOT, and we provide all of those maps for those departments as well, which is important. So overall, I was talking about community outreach. I think that this is pretty impressive. 23 planning commission meetings, some that go past midnight. Did we go past midnight the other night? Yeah. 35 planning department hosted community meetings and over 100, hundreds and hundreds of outreach to groups like y'all. So, staffing. One thing, look, I've been in a lot of positions in my time over the years, and I think that if you want to build a good institution, a good department, a good private business, it's all about the team. It's about staffing and it's about management. So one of the things that I'm extremely proud of is the commission and me leading the hiring of our director, Lucy Kim, which was the first female ever planning director, and I'm very proud of it. And as you know, having the right team and the right people create great things. If you have the wrong leader, the wrong people, bad things happen. And I feel like we're on a very, very good road and good process to having one of the best, I would argue we have one of the best planning departments in the country. I'm also excited about our number 2, Todd. If you haven't met Todd, I can never pronounce his last name correctly, Logan. But he is if you don't know Todd, he's he's our deputy director, and he's going to be a really good addition to the team. And so we have 25 new staff members, and just over the last fiscal year, that's up 36%. Over the past 5 years, we're up 80%. But I will tell you, Logan and I were discussing this, and it's still not, we're still kind of on the low end of a lot of cities. Now, ours does not include historic, right? Planning department. It's a separate commission. And so, in looking at other cities, you have to look at the actual departments that are in those as well. And so Logan and I had a good, thoughtful discussion on that, but I feel like we're getting closer to where we need to be, council. And I want to say thank you for appropriating the money and the staff positions. We couldn't do it without y'all. And so that's an important thing, and I would argue we have some of the best staff as well in the country. And so I'm extremely proud of that. And I think that that has been part of that focus of hiring the right people, right? And building your organization to become a world-class organization. So the next thing, I always get questions on transportation. We all do, right? Everybody's worried about the traffic. Every project, too much traffic, don't build it. And so one of the things I think that is important is that you have to have really good transportation planning. I think that we've had an emphasis on that. And some of the things that I'm very proud of is the MCSP, Major Collector Street Plan for Midtown. So y'all know there's a lot of project going on in Midtown, right? You got the Beeman project, the old Beeman project, the old Beeman property, you have the old milk factory, you have, huge projects. And so one of the things I'm very proud of is we got this plan done in time to make sure that some of the improvements for those particular big projects could be included in those. And some of those things are making it more walkable, making wider sidewalks. Those projects, we worked with the property owners and the developers. They lost a lot of right-of-way. And so in order to have the bigger sidewalks, more transit, these are important things that I'm very proud of. And if you didn't have good planning, you wouldn't get some of these good, this is a good cross-section example. Also, we've worked on transportation specifically in Pytown, Mid-Gulch, West Nashville, Haines Trinity, and then Connect downtown study, which there's information, NDOT is working on that currently. There's information out in the hallway about that, and Marty is here from NDOT as well out in the hallway talking about some of those mobility goals. So, of course, here are the goals: safe and comfortable, connect and convenient, equity, sustainability. I mean, these are good things. And I think that good planning and good coordination amongst the departments is critical. And I feel like we've had some of the best communication with NDOT that we've ever had, which is a good thing. So, some of the current projects, really exciting projects. The Global Mall Area Study, very excited about that project. My daughter plays hockey, so we go to that, the Antioch area often, and the mall area, and I'm excited about that particular study and project. The Edge Hill neighborhood plan, which Edge Hill, as y'all know, lots of changes. Hermitage, 88 Hermitage, and then East Bank, which is still ongoing. So, the question is, is Nashville growing? So, if you would listen to the media, or if you do listen to the media, I try not to, you would think that we'd come off the rails in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, in my neighborhood, so the one thing that you all may not know about me is I'm a volunteer. I'm a citizen. I'm a neighbor. I live in Creve Hall off of Hogan Road. I don't get paid for the 8-hour meetings that I go to, along with my daily conversations with Lucy, or when a council member calls me, or a citizen, or a neighbor. You know, we're volunteers. And the thing about Nashville is we really try to do smart growth, right? And so if you follow the Planning Commission, you know that we really try to build density where density should be built, which is along a major corridor. We try not to build it in the middle of Creve Hall. We try not to build it in the middle of your neighborhood. And so we really do listen, and we have a lot of engagement with neighbors and where to put growth in Nashville. And so I wanted you all to know that I never hear the media say, oh, well, population in Nashville is going down from 2020. I haven't heard that. Have you? So we go by numbers, right? Information, facts, census data. We don't go by height or, I'm just telling you the data. So we've seen a blip of growth reduction. Now, that doesn't mean projects are not being built, right? That doesn't mean housing is not being built, it's population. And so I was shocked when I saw Greg Claxton present this slide. Greg Claxton is a long-range planner, and he's with the department, and he's doing the redistricting for us, and has done a lot of different projects for us, and is a very well, I would say, renowned planner in Nashville, very well respected. And when we saw this map, I just couldn't believe it. But the good thing is that y'all should be, no worries, we're starting to grow again, okay? We had a blip, it seems like, in 2020 with COVID, and I don't know why. There are a lot of theories out there on why we reduced in population growth. But it seems like we're on the rebound, but not as high as the last growth in 2018 to 2020. It's a much more gentle growth of what we saw as a projection. So, I don't know if Nashville's going to continue to grow or not. I don't know if the housing market, rates, interest rates. I do know this. I know it's harder for developers to build projects because of interest rates. I know projects are getting more expensive. Products are getting more expensive. And so I don't know the answer to that, but right now it seems like we're on a rebound on the line that we projected as planners, which I thought was really interesting. So I thought this was a very interesting slide, but that's all I have. Oh, the joke. So my daughter, she's 12. She goes to USN. She plays sports. I love watching sports, as y'all know. I have a few Tawana knows I have a few sports jokes at the Planning Commission. They're always out of order. You know, they're not part of the agenda. But my daughter was going to the Frist Art Museum summer camp. You know, they have summer camps, and my daughter's there, and she's doing the art project. And they said, look up and draw what you see. Guess what my daughter draws? She draws a crane. And it's not the bird. So I had a chuckle. I know there's a lot of growth in the city. I know there's a lot of construction. I know there's a lot of traffic. But I do think this. Somebody at the last commission meeting, a citizen, said that we haven't planned anything in Nashville. And as much time and effort as I've put into it as a citizen, and the council members and the planning commissioners, I think that hit a lot of the planning commissioners a little sideways, because that's not true. We do a lot of planning in the city, and whether it's transportation planning, and I will tell you this, I think one of the takeaways from me and to you is that if you don't think we do planning, then you need to talk to your council member. You need to be involved in the process, come to a planning workshop, learn what our rules are and what they are not. And I think that you would be surprised at how much planning takes place in the city and how much community involvement and engagement happens. I mean, I can't tell you how many times. Logan's here on a Saturday. They go to night meetings. They do weekends. The staff is committed to this community. And I will tell you, all of the commissioners, and the reason why I'm here is because I love this city and I'm passionate about the way it grows. And so that's it. Logan, did I do okay? Did I miss anything? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, twofold. I'm native Nashvilleian, and I think for me, you kind of put things, you historicalize things with events. And so for me, I think for the blip, for the growth, for me in my head, it started when we had the NFL draft. It kind of put Nashville on the map, and we've been growing ever since. So my first question is, when we had the draft, were there any thought as to the light that it was shown on Nashville? It did we plan for the kind of publicity that it got? That's my first question. My second question is, due to Nashville's growth, I'm particularly interested in education. So with the planning for development for residential communities, I want to know, how do I find out next year whether or not my son's school class size is going to increase? So that's my question.
All right. So the first question was the growth after the NFL draft and basically the spotlight on Nashville. So I have a historical perspective on it because, and so this is going to be a little longer-winded than you think, but the history is important. Okay, the convention center. So I was a councilman back 12 years ago. So I ran 20 years ago, pre-fall. We didn't have we had the old convention center, right? We barely had the Titans. NHL was just kind of starting up. Predators were. The whole Midtown area was a bunch of old warehouses and parking lots. I struggled on the convention center, but at the end of the day, I came out as a fierce advocate for it. This facility, I almost forgot where I was. This particular facility, and I thought I might get beat, maybe, coming out, because that was my first term. And I actually sponsored the first bill for it. And I was a little nervous. It was the one time in the council where I said, man, did I do the right thing? You kind of question yourself, like when you get a mortgage with your wife's like, did we do the right thing? Buying this new house. And guess what? Some people, yeah, it was the best thing that we could do for Nashville. Some people, it was the downfall of Nashville. So there are two thoughts on that. Now, my personal opinion is, I feel like it was the right thing to do. It was a catalyst for this entire area, which produced more development and more growth and more tax revenue than anywhere else in the city for a long time. And it is still going on, right? So you have all of the property tax, most of it, that was being developed. And then you also had all of the sales tax that this area from all of the tourists. And so one thing that I will tell you that I think is positive is that the downtown growth and all of the tourists and the spotlight on Nashville after the draft, they helped keep property taxes low. And I would tell you that if you look, and you can talk to the council members, yes, our property tax is almost doubled 2 years ago. But those particular taxes and that type of spotlight on Nashville has helped keep property taxes for the rest of us lower. Now, are some people happy with that? They're still not happy. Are some people excited about it? Yes, they want to see the tights. It causes some effect, like Nashville now has some of the best airplane lift out of any other city. Just, you have some of the best now because of the tourists and because of the spotlight. And so, has it created other problems? Absolutely, and it has. And it's, the stadium's going on. Personally, I'm an advocate to keep professional sports in Nashville. I guess that's a plug for the council members, but that's my own opinion. And everybody's got a different one. So, look, I think that you have to really look at, and I do this on my own. I work downtown. I drive in from Crieve Hall. I'm just like most citizens in Nashville. Some days I'm cussing that we have grown so much, right? I'm stuck in traffic. And then some days I'm like, actually, if you get out and go to some of the new developments that happen and do in the neighborhoods, I go to 12 South and eat now. And I used to not do that. So I think you have to be very measured in that. So that's my answer. Now, I know it's probably not the specific answer that you wanted, but that's kind of, I see it as, we went from a small city to a medium to large size city. And does it have growing pains? Absolutely. But what's important is to try to manage the pains, the growth pains. And we try to do that. I think one of the things that we try to do in the Planning Commission is what we call smart growth. We try to keep the density where it's supposed to be and keep the density low where it's not supposed to be. Now, I have to answer her second question real quick, which is the educational answer. And I'll tell you, I'm not as well versed on the education piece as I should be, but I do know that we as planners look and we analyze how many students in each project. Now, a lot of times it's the cumulative projects that really have an impact. And I think that that's one thing that we could probably do a little bit better, and we're trying. And so I'll take that back to the team. Logan and I, we'll work on that some more. And I think that we've started doing a lot more of that in our staff reports. So if you look at our staff reports, it has that analysis in there. All right, ma'am.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. My name is Ruby Baker, and I have 2 questions. Now, I'm sorry I was late coming in because, you get stuck in the hallway.
It's okay. It's only you'll have to buy me a cup of coffee.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
I have 2 questions, but the first question is, if you did do a disclaimer before the meeting started, then I apologize if this question goes that way. My question is about Nashville Next. And if the council is reduced, will the reason I'm asking is because I heard a council member say the Nashville Next is gonna go away. I didn't give into the conversation because I don't know yay or nay, but you're the planning, you would be able to answer. Is the Nashville Next going away if the council size is reduced?
No,
Good. Now let's move
I think that would be illegal. And I will tell you that the way that we do planning in Nashville, I don't think that we will ever move away from a Nashville Next policy, like the way that we do it with, and developing that policy with folks like y'all. I don't think that will ever go away. And I don't think the Planning Commission, we have never, ever once said that would go away. I've never heard
I
that.
didn't think so.
Yeah, so you can tell the council member that I said no.
Yeah.
And if they want to talk to me, we'll talk.
That's one question that's gonna just kind of dispel some misinformation.
Yeah.
The other question is still about Nashville Next. When it comes to policy, I see a disconnect in the community not understanding your terminology. And I know you do a good job. They do a job trying to explain. But we need something in the middle to to translate that. Because when the community conversation is, we don't want that. But when planning says it's okay because of policy, I need something to help explain what policy is for those that may not have been in the Nashville Next conversation that took place years ago.
Yeah, so we get that often.
So can
Sometimes,
you do something to
Ruby, yeah. So I think part of it is the council member has to be able to say, hey, this is the policy. And what it means by policy is the vision of the community, right? And sometimes that vision gets old. It gets old, and we need to have an updated policy. So the first thing I would say is, if it's because the neighbors just don't like the project, maybe it's the height, maybe it's the density, maybe it's because the policy is an evolving policy and not a neighborhood maintenance policy. So if it needs to be updated. And so we've updated about, I don't know, Logan, how many, 10 to 12 new policy areas in the last?
I think it's like 45 in total.
45 in total? Okay.
What I'm meaning is, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I see the other side of the community that would like to understand that. Because believe it or not, even though some may think so, there are some that are not pushing against development. They just don't understand some of the layers.
So what area are you speaking in? What area do you have?
I live in Bordeaux Hills, but
Bordeaux
I'm
Hills.
speaking about District 1.
Oh, district.
Because I've moved around Scottsboro, Bells Bend, I've moved around, especially in Whites Creek area.
Yeah.
I hear the conversation and I hear what you're saying. And it's like you're saying the same thing that they're saying, it's just the terminology is different.
Well, Ruby, this is what we'll do. We'll have the team look at District 1.
Yeah, just some
and
kind of, what they used to call it in high school, crib notes, something. But you know what I'm saying?
Cliff Notes.
They really do.
You know those.
They really do want to be in the conversation, and I'm working hard
No.
trying to translate, and I hear you wanting them to understand, so some sort of way, let's try
Well-
to bring the two together, because development is not going to stop.
Now, what we'll do, ma'am, is Logan and I will come talk to you after this, okay?
Good.
Yeah, and we'll get it worked out.
Hey, Logan.
And we'll get, because part of it, maybe we need to have some more community meetings in the area, and we need to update the policy. So,
Yes.
and we do that, and that's what we're here for, so thank you.
And isn't Nashville Next getting ready to go through it?
Well, we're going, so it's like the Nashville Next, I say, is like the Constitution, right? It's a document that is in place, it's concrete, and it will always be there. It's not going away. And the one thing is, it needs to be updated. So it's like a living, breathing document that needs to be updated, and those plans need to be updated. All right, I think we have time for one more question. In the back, how about in the back?
Hey, my name's Daniel McDonald. I'm over in East Nashville and Shelby Hills area. My question was about the MCSP that you mentioned earlier. I think it's the plan we have for what our roads should look like when development comes in. I think, as you said, it gives a lot of guidance and I guess, justification for us when we talk about traffic with development. And this might be partly an NDOT question, but from a land use perspective, I know it makes it hard. Like in Gallatin Road, we have our shallow lots that make that density that we really want that's part of the planning difficult because it's mostly geared toward widening for throughput. So I'm kind of wondering if there have been any thoughts from the Planning Commission department side on revising that to better allow for that development that we need in the goals on our corridors.
So that is a very specific question that Logan and I are going to have to come talk to you about, but I believe that there is some planning going on in that area, and Logan and I will have to talk to you privately, but I will tell you that the whole point of the Major Collector Street Program plan is to make sure that developers know that they're going to have to give up more right-of-way, right? They're going to have larger sidewalks. They're going to have certain things. They're going to have to make it pedestrian and bike-friendly. So that is a very important part of our plans, and we spend a lot of time on these transects, right? And if we didn't have good planning, you wouldn't get this. You would get just the lanes. You get only 5 of these things, nothing else. So part of this plan too is context sensitivity. I know y'all have heard maybe some, I used to work at TDOT, we do these context sensitivity plans. Part of it is building the project that enhances the pedestrian and transportation program. So we'll come talk to you about that, but I believe my time is over. Oh, it's not over yet. Oh, we had one over here. I got all day. I love to talk, according to my wife. So.
Just a quick question. There's been some conversation about 10-minute cities, 15-minute cities, and how other areas, other states are incorporating that to increase the transportation, cars, and with the reduced parking spaces that the Planning Commission is working on. I kind of see this may have been mentioned in the Planning Commission. So that is just my question to you. Are you considering that in the Planning Commission for the future Nashville?
So I'm not certain about the 10-minute city, but I do know this. I know that we had a lively debate about less parking in downtown. Personally, I'd like to see more parking, but I'm old. I'm old school, okay? And I knew that that was not the right thing to do, because in order to make a more pedestrian-friendly downtown, in order to walk and bike more downtown, you need less parking space. I supported it. I had a lot of friends tell me, you don't need to vote for that because we're not going to have any place to park. And so, well, that's the whole point, right? That you get on a bus, you ride your bike or you ride your scooter, you change your lifestyle. Now, in Creve Hall, it's a little bit hard because we only have one bus route that goes through my neighborhood. So it's a little bit hard. And in some areas, I'd say the council members can tell you where it's hard and where it's not. Now, some places, it's very easy. And so that's one of those things where it's a growing pain, right? We don't have bus service in every area that is frequent enough for a person like myself. So I have to drive, right? And so, look, I felt like the other thing too is you just don't need more buses. You have to have more sidewalks. You have to have more bus stops that are not ditches beside a road where you're going to get ran over. Like Harding Place didn't have a sidewalk. And so one thing that I fought for and got was Harding Place sidewalks. And it was one of the larger sidewalk projects the city's ever seen. And so, look, it's going to be a tough transition because Nashville, especially old people like me, love their car. And, we love our freedom, right, to drive around. But as the city grows and it gets more congested, I might have to let my wife ride with me to work or something. Carpooling. I'm gonna have to take one for the team, right? So, very good question. I do know that that was a very big shift for Nashville. Logan, wouldn't you say? Less parking. But truth be told, the developers were actually getting more requests to not have parking spots. So it was kind of a natural progression of the type of person that moves here that doesn't ride a bike, that doesn't drive a car. They tend to be younger. They ride bikes and scooters. Twana?
I have 4 short things. The first one.
4?
Angie Hubbard, she's going to do a Zoom meeting with us on Thursday, May 4th. That's open to everybody if you reach out afterwards to talk about affordable and unaffordable housing. The second question, just a quick yes, no. Did you say you'll share the slides? These will be shared?
Yes.
Awesome.
Logan.
We'll
send them to the group.
Okay. Is the Planning Commission training open to the public was my third question, so that we could, it's kind of one of her question, we could learn more?
Well, the workshops are always open, as you know. They're public meetings. Which training are you speaking
I'm
of?
assuming y'all get some training, like all these new state laws that they're doing that are impacting directly what Planning Commission can and can't do, that there's something for that?
Well, generally we have, so one of the reasons why Lucy is not here, our director, is because she's at a conference doing professional training. I'll check with the director, and session is not over yet, the legislative session's not over, but once it wraps up, we potentially could talk about doing a training on new state law.
The final thing is, I just want to also echo what you said. I have seen you guys more than I see my family some weeks. Y'all are everywhere, and we really appreciate it. Metro in every department is extremely short, and everybody in this room can help a little bit by mentioning that to people. There's a job fair on Tuesday at the Bass Learning Center over off of Charlotte. And whether you're talking about libraries or codes or police or parks, any Metro department you mentioned is short. So we appreciate y'all. We know you're short-staffed, and thank you, Logan, and everybody.
Thanks, Ron. Who else? Yes, sir.
It's just been working in the North Nashville area here, born and raised in Nashville. I've seen a lot of things change. Currently, my question is more or less to the redistricting. We established that it's happening, but the problem I'm seeing or being reported back to is that the black and brown representation will be cut, obviously. So the problem I'm having, or at least the question I have for you, is with that representation being cut, few council members that are not in here at the moment, but in the vicinity, are being placed against each other. And by as simple as a street difference, Street 1 next to Street 2, just very close proximity to each other. So I'm wondering, I know we have what, the 10th, the 12th, to come up with these 2 options, 17-3, 5-15, and go to council, is my understanding. Is there anything in the next 2 weeks or a week and a half from this time that can be implemented so where so many black and brown current council people are not headed against each other? It's already going to be a small number. This is only placing, it's pretty much guaranteeing a less number of representation for our black and brown community.
Thank you. One thing that we've been working on with Greg Claxton, who is heading up this process, is keeping the districts, well, first of all, the council has not said, they have not voted on the number of districts yet, so the number of at-large districts. And so until that happens, we put out 2 maps. Lucy, the director, and I talked about it, and put out 2 maps that we felt would meet the guidelines. And the first thing that we worked on was to try to make sure that we kept as many minority districts as we could, percentage-wise. And unfortunately, in those maps, And you personally, I would tell you to set up a meeting with Greg Claxton and to look at the reason why that is. And I would tell you that we've drawn them in a way that we feel actually increases the percentage of minority districts. And so we feel like as a matter of fact, we've done it so much that some of the other districts look a little funny.
Yes.
Well,
Even my district. So I will tell you, Creve Hall and Green Hills, and ours looks like two balloons next to each other with a tunnel between it. And the reason for that was to protect some of the other minority districts. And I will tell you that if you don't believe me, I just suggest that you set up a meeting with Greg Claxton. The one thing that we did do prior to us releasing the maps, we met with every council incumbent and told them what the maps are going to be like. And we went to great efforts and candidates. And we think we're going to have a larger percentage of minority districts than now we'll have less because of just the pure numbers, but we'll have a higher percentage is what we think.
Well, percentages are great, but statistically, most statistics aren't correct, and they do not fully give a full representation, specifically in District 2 and 5, my district.
Yeah, and so I suggest that you talk to, set up a meeting with Greg Claxton, and he'll go through the computer modeling with you. And, okay.
So my thing is, literally, there is an address that one council person is on this side of the street.
Yeah.
If that could be moved one block over. It's currently cutting through a river in North Nashville, cutting under a bridge, so it's not.
Yeah, well, I think that you need to tell Greg that.
Currently an issue.
Well, this is why we have public input period, so it's very critical for you to meet with Greg, okay?
They're meeting Monday.
Yeah, we've been there, with our organizations making notes, all this current week, and it's still not happening.
Okay.
So unfortunately, there will be representation that will be put against each other if no change.
Yeah, so the thing about MAP, so here's a very interesting thing. If you, the one person, one vote court case was actually a Tennessee case. I don't know if y'all knew that, but it's famous. Baker v. Carr is a Tennessee case. One person, one vote. You may not know that. I think for us, the conversation in redistricting was mostly, for me, about minority districts and keeping them high. So I want you to know that. And it made the other parts of the city the maps look weird, to be honest. So, ma'am.
I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on the lawsuit?
No comment. Every time I comment on a lawsuit, I always get proved wrong for some reason or the other. I think that we're just trying not to violate state law, and I'm trying not to get indicted. So, I'm being serious, because when I was a councilman, I voted for something that Councilman Ryman wanted, and all of a sudden, we figured out that it was in violation of federal law, and a court man, we had a session, and we were going to be fined. I could have went to jail. There are serious consequences so I have no comment. I feel like the Planning Commission's job is to do to meet the state law. And until a court injunction, this is my one opinion, until a court injunction tells us otherwise, until a court tells us that we have to quit, stop, we've done our part as the Planning Commission, and now the council has to take it up. And so that's up to the council members, and they'll take it up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good question, though. I would ask the same question.
Regarding National Next as a living document, which I think was helpful framing, have you all done any analysis of the 45 amendments to see if there's a trend on what direction those amendments are going? Because I've just been kind of involved with going to these meetings within like the last 6 months or so, and I don't know whether or not it's the seasonal trend, but it seems like a lot of the pushes have been for lower density, more historic, caps on height. And I think one of the things to think about you probably already have thought about this, is if you are planning at the neighborhood level, at least in my neighborhood, there's in Charlotte Park, there's discussion about changing the planning within, the policy within Charlotte Park. And because it's at the neighborhood level, there's not this kind of camaraderie about give and take between neighborhoods about, we'll allow this higher density here if this other neighborhood will allow more density as well. So the question has been, oh, how low can we go?
So I'm going to answer it on a broad level and then your specific micro level. I think here's a good takeaway from this group, I think, is that if you feel like your neighborhood is just getting blasted with development and it just is terrible, part of it could be the policies wrong. So I would suggest, and this is what we need from the neighbors, right? Logan, we need input. And if you think that your policy is off, get with us. Get with the staff. And you can get with any staff member. The director, you can write me an email. I'd be glad to respond and get the staff going on it. And so I would say that if you feel like there's not enough planning going on in your neighborhood and that it's off, reach out to us and we'll try to figure out where the disconnect is.
I'm actually saying the opposite. I was saying, is there too much amendment such that we're encouraging sprawl?
Oh, well, maybe, but I think that if you can downsize, and so a lot of the here's the slide. So yes, we have thought about this. The council has asked for 10 amendments, which generally if a councilman's asking us to look at an area, it's because they've been getting requests from the community, from y'all, right? So they get requests and then they ask us, and generally these are downsizing, generally. And then these others are, the other 30 and maybe even more are generally from like a developer. So it could be, and they're not all the same. So some are very large areas and some are for a specific plot of land. And so it kind of changes back and forth. So, yes ma'am.
I'm with the Haynes Trinity area, stuff around there.
Yeah, Haynes Trinity.
Yeah, we have bukus of development right now. A few years ago, we had a charrette, and we decided that we didn't want any buildings in our area over 7 stories. But now developers want to do 22 and 38-story buildings. What happened? Why did we have a charrette if they were going to do an SP and same thing?
Well, sometimes developer will come with an SP. Sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. And I would tell you that part of being engaged in the Planning Commission and engaged with your council member is really important, and that just because you win one case at the Planning Commission, this is more my own opinion, or you have one charrette, or you have one vision in your area or one plan, it never ends, right? Okay, so it's really important to stay engaged, to continue to communicate to the staff, because you're right. Look, I'm not pro-development, and I don't want to say I'm not pro-neighborhood, because I love my neighborhood. I am pro-neighborhood, but I'm not one way or the other. I always look at the facts and try to take both sides and try to figure out. But I will tell you that it never stops, and especially with the growth, you have to kind of stay on top of stuff, right, with developers, and I think that it's important. Now, I will tell you, we really try to be fair, and we're not partial. We're all citizens on the Planning Commission. We're pretty well balanced, which here's another thing that's really important, is that the Planning Commission, it's important for that body to stay balanced. And what I mean by that is that to have a diverse group of professionals, whether it's, to me it's important to have a lot of minority representation. It's important to have a lot of women representation. It's important to have a lot of some business representation. We have an architect on there, we have a developer on there, we have several community activists on there, including Stuart Clifton. So it's a very balanced commission. And once that balance gets off one way or the other, it creates havoc. So a little internal stuff for you. But I will say stay engaged. On your particular issue, I'm going to come talk to you so I can find out more facts, and we'll figure out why we had larger buildings.
Okay, I would like to, I have to intervene at this point for the next session, and he wants to engage, to talk with a few people before we end. I want to thank all of you all for coming to this particular session. And if you can, give me a round of applause for Commissioner Greg Atkins for being here. We greatly appreciate that for being here today. And I would like you to take some time right now, if you can fill out your evaluation forms, please do that and leave them for us. We have a few minutes before the session with a minute so that you can do that. That really helps neighbor to neighbor to make plans for the next conference and for the next sessions and have your input in it. So thank you all very, very much. Thank you again, Ms. Atkins. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
We'll be in the back here so you can have that evaluation when you're done. Thank you. Anybody else?
They're going to say, give the help, especially. I haven't. I think we were, my office was probably I haven't seen anything yet, so I don't know. Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. It is. I just went through there the other day. Right. Yeah, it's a mess. Right. It's crazy. I know. Actually, with the size of it, you don't think it's the way we like to build traffic circles are very big. So if we did them in an appropriate size, they'd be big. We're doing a lot of issues. Sidewalk. dogs crossing and dogs. I hope so. Nashville has what they have to do. And FHWA too, this I found out is that any of the state roads, they don't have to. So that's one way. Well, yeah, if they had, and we just assumed that every big arterial has several roads. And so we just get this. So we need to start talking about yesterday, to get the whole state. Yeah. So Memphis is doing dedicated bus on one of their big arterials. So if they can do it, we can get it. We can get it together. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Separate it out. Yeah. They don't have to compete. Right. Yeah. Maybe less. Yeah. It just seems too big. That makes
Bye, you guys. See you.
No, you were supposed to meet with me.
I will. I'll be right back.
Alexander, great to hear you speak.
Well, hey, I'm also working on an actual state now.
And
I am, for whatever the
speak, I collaborate with the city.
That's thanks. Yeah, it's
Well, no pressure. I think you know what you're doing.
We work hard. Love you. I'll be right back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Tom Brady, yeah. Right.
Good idea.
Yeah. That's right. Right. Yeah. And that's what I love when I first came here. Pretty quickly knew my council member to text. You know, like we were on texting basis. In the first year that I lived here, you can't do that anywhere. That's great, you know. So, yeah, I'm hoping that something happens that's important. Stay. We'll see. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. How's everything going? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so I remember way back, so about 5 years ago, I planted some because I'd never been able to see them. Last summer, we had the first pawpaw harvest, and I was so excited. It was great. Yeah, I got a big handful of pawpaws, and it was awesome. Yeah. They never bloomed. Oh, they bloomed, but never fruit. Okay. Last year we had a good one. Now, the thing I read about them is it's one of the type of trees that you need different varieties. So I wondered if you planted one differently, then maybe they would cross-pollinate each other. Right. Yeah. Right, exactly. That's what I'm thinking is that they all came from one, so they're all the same genetic. Yeah. That's cool. Well, this summer I will have to let you know when the actual fruit comes up and bring you some. Yeah, it's great. I must have your email address somewhere. Yeah. Do you want to write it down? I know. Me too. Me too. Here, write down your contact.
Remember, North Carolina. So you were born there? Yeah. Oh, I was sitting in Oxford. Yeah, another question is, are you North Carolina? Ah, yeah, that's the only problem.
Okay, yes, I got it now. Now that you say it. Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah, it's great to see you doing well. We got a. Yeah. Okay. No. Maybe that does ring a bell. Yeah. Where does he go? Does he work for? Okay. Interesting. But he's just like really into designing. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Because 5 is the largest, I think, prominent.
Yeah. Right. That's really cool.
All the way to the office.
Well, I'm looking forward to the I'm curious what everybody has to say. Yeah. Well, I've always been a fan of Freddie. Yeah, even when I trained Freddie because of his transit background. He really inspires the best kind of he's had to deal with a lot of major developments too, downtown, but also that's uncommon because I was before Cooper said it was a money. I was worried Freddie would have a pathway to something racing. The field's wide open. Yeah.
We already did that.
Yeah. Right.
I guess it's possible.
Yeah. I know Wilshire. I think the good thing about him, and really the good thing about any of the top 3-ish pieces is that we'll get some kind of consistency and stability, which makes sense. In the mayor's office for, since Megan